one woo. I don't know just a Kufour and a yana Akufado now join out the Bawumia, but I am Canada. Yampere MPP party, no MPP party, that's all. Yampere MPP party, no opposition. And Yampere Bawumia, Yapona book and the pond. Sent to go about this year, and Yada Bobo, I Hinara. Bawumia say, after one constituency, 10 appointments. And Pepper so the Kaya Kaya Yabo 10. Mala Militaria, double 10. Nothing one constituency, 10 appointments. Me, no man, dear Saba. I'm so many money. In America, one man, I took another man, Canada, Japan, never the money bar. Musta, medication, Julie, if you know, Muslim, may come for Canada, Japan, will be Canada. I know they will have us being a program. I mean, a day. Obia, Gabia. Gabocha ya pani bi mu wa bansa na ya baggage na mo ojuma ho na aleya sika gu kotokum Gabia no wale bede ibididi ahwawo ba ahwawo ye ahwawo family ahwawo bibiara nti obi a osere ye to abaman mo do ho Ghana ya koye ni me kare Japan o san the beautiful ya lusu for ye nti we lecture area no wono ma di nkomo na wonu mo di nkomo no da am na mo ka kire mi reje ina body pako pia na ko support ba o meta na pon support ba carboni o jo ba undesi ni bia wa asase do adenti o san na ase ba umi adafo ba umi anka no kwa agwogu do ho weda ana ibi agbola tapa wa asase do vice president agbola tapa wa asase do dia no kwa ina MPP edinku ima you to be edinku ima o you to be edinku you nyare man dis fu akoma tu na wa semina ne de say de ba umi aba ahon ya campaign mu ya na PA system DJ Papa, you're better than you're about to toss again and Mena. Yes, I can do Japan, Yanembra, Medawasipi. Mammy, of course, if I'm an me full, who bring him about it? If you find my bank is sim, and I put a letter, I mean, a police station organizer. I don't know. I'm going to tell my bio, Papa, no, in fact. They are police station, Ejuma ban was after you, short man was after you. Honestly, the drivers were minister, Ejuma minister. Yes, your minister, Canada, Japan. Ah, but all of the presidents are other grassroots eternity. None of our share when I know where we're shooting here. Ejuma is my problem. It's the number of my support the Kennedy. I'm not sure now, police station for there are some nominal catcher. Madam, I really make it up police station. What can I do? Was 32. Make it a million look in the coordinator or may let I may manage where I buy. Got the buyer has spent a 5 near the battalion from a transformer constituency. The kind there, police station phone. We have one more beyond other home. Or be a police station. Or be a party on your back for the year. Want to have a mechanic or you break with Japan. No more share, no being here to home, Medasi. Medas Mame, a higher man 107.1 FM, NAP Radio 90.1, yeah, live, AS 101.1, so yeah, live. King Jesse TV and radio, Akayatum, US of A, Mofia Damase, Papa Bay, any team, Munga Damase. Aveso, I didn't come out to media, Adolfo MCOD, Munano, Akayatum live. And I hired the Papa, Mumra, I hired the Papa, Mammy of Rosa. Who's been about it? Accra. Today I do a free Accra bedroom. Kasade mami. And I'm Canadian who don't see the bedroom. Now, by when you're Japan, oh, you're near Japan because you want to say, oh, my phone is not too. I'm at the entire buyer. The baby asking you a pepper. Okay, I'm the kind of ha, say now, feel. Oh, yeah, but yes, as soon as I bear, and I didn't say. That's it. Madame, what's your brother? Doris. Your brother? Doris. Doris. Who bring about it? If Kaswa. Kaswa. Kaswa is central region. I don't know more free Kaswa be play Cape Coast. Then I do a free Kaswa be play Cape Coast. Showdown walk. What you know what kind of car? I don't know bet me account on him. Oh, any Papa Fancy be a 44. Odo ere. Mesi oyeni papa. I told my one yaje. I mean yaje. Mate yeda ase.
Aha, I am man 101.2, 107.1. After us 101.1. Yeah, them I say net 2. Yeah, that's you're live on net 2 TV. You're live on S1 Voice Network page. You're live. Papa Bay. Also try out to Abeku. King Jesse TV and radio. So yeah, live on. Mom, you're from sorry.
But your family, I'm a Pamela from Holland.
Now I don't know what we highway.
Many are Kennedy, honorable. Me frasi. It's a routine me free approach. Aba maybe 2 amano.
Now buy no. Who Kufour how can say now for no.
The buy ya papa. I can wash road. I can wash road. And then we started last week. And I sent out my age ma ho. And no come go no dey be say. E ko who delicate no. And no be 9 o'clock. Ejuma be bia ko so. Obia se kan obopa.
Oba confirm keka no. For ni be ne twa kire o.
I could carry there. I was so and Obia se kan ama. Obo toba. Obo se kan obo. Be kwa sense out. Obo se kan ama.
All right. And we are live coverage. Yade Eba. Obani. Okay. Mami no ye. Sisi ame no kasai. Dia na obe catch your man for about
a friend I'm a Pamela. They are sinning. I'm in Holland. Abani tina mabada. About for sir. I'm not my Kennedy. Because never powered you. Why you need power can cry. Baby I make Kobia. I was sense out. Kobia Kennedy. No can no vote.
All right.
Me ko do adi bi ase. E ko ye ndra ho. What no can no vote.
That's it. All right. We're live coverage from the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast to be precise. Abani yama kwa ba from say from Adom ofri for na buy. If you go more east, I want you go moyanya I didn't see about showdown war. I am here there. Ya to aba na nado. Wa ba go fu be kan ho. And then go fu what did you here delegate your down. Ni yen obi a me drive go asmeni. Okay. Yen obi a na me nyimpa wa na adu ababo yi tina wa asena. Okay. O de ye to aba du be me impa. No mo boy ye na nanum ye wo nanum wo ye wo mba ho. No wo so be school block ho. Wo so be ye weti. No wo yi je asase. You think go show down. Okay. All right. Opening the mouse to Akoba. We did say. Me delegate to Akuna West. Akuna Swodro. All right. That's na wo hane. Kennedy ntina no hanam. Because you kwa bontia. Obiase ya de Kennedy ba. Bobato aba Kennedy. It's man is ready. I made say delegate. In fact, you know, as I don't cast a delegate, fear delegate. But what did you want to say? Star, if you wait here, delegate, be a fear being intimate by one some delegate. You will go up on just say, one got this cat, no one got to a banana baumia. One, two much Kennedy or here the bomb. And it's a damn saying, why number one? Why number one? One day I got this Canadian is I'm on this about Mamma no penny way soon you come up and you didn't say. From bingo with a circle. Right. A circle. November. I'm a honorable. I'm a that's all to any problem. Okay. Yo, there's someone. Let me say Central. Area Pregator. Or make you talk about the map or over Japan. After Penuclear, oh, party, or be to me a deal and you party, and I go to him 2024. Never can go at my young. Every party, they do grab of all the news they do grab. No grab, I had here, and the Omanchannel Japan. I know what I can grab, and I'm my young, and I'll be asked. Don't delegate. Go and vote for Omanchannel Japan. All right. And Uti showdown. Oman for and a Kasa. Opening Bajo. You're from Emmanuel Abeka. Free in a bag. No, we will go forward. Cape Coast to be precise, and O'Shea. You can see from the crowd, many people from across the central region. 23 constituencies are outdoor. Obia said no can, no vote. And we are live on Oman FM Net 2 TV. Safo, so network me so. Debbie, Safo, so far you can showdown work. Yes. Showdown work where to say.
Mania papa, where homecoming? Where homecoming showdown because Osha need here central region for done a DNA and now I mean what do you mean? Osha and it here waha. When a bimun and I'm say central region no go area. Wow.
What did you say?
What's it? Me did Nana.
Now, friend,
me free Accra.
Get now the showdown walk at you.
Hey, showdown walk at you. The most important one. Just say, but honorable can buy. You through Banya Jumaya. Then you who be toyen. It's not yet buy me buy and why?
All right. Openi, Bala Kasakaka. Who did you say? Me did it. Hayford. Can you open a buy? Central Grandma behind there. Uncle for Yegman yet. You to know when Yegman yet. Invest for Yegman yet. Polyphone Yegman yet. Until you feed a yet woman can de Japan. On Obama you to know when you're Mawaye. Wagana have because on oil strong. Abafraba or Oyakala button. Oh, can't tire. No, bisa. Because Canada Japan. And the presence of happening here, apart from one or banner, and now we'll bring my baby, other monk of my wire. And the Yamina Obayama was in the dam. Obayama was in the dam. You know, Obian Trevi, Obiaba Maya. And the Mokoto say all the delegates in the air. Want to make Canada Japan. Oh, no, all about Boyan. Obiaba, or not all about Boyan, Canada Japan. On all about boy and man, you to when you're why? All right, Openi, who did you say?
Me dey man, Boniface Denyo.
All right, who free? Anyone about?
Me free Kaswa. I want to say ya consider.
All right, and then I'll be can. Then we who ne?
The MS delegate will say. Me free Oti region. Now who can Oti region? Na voter region, northern region. Apart do a omudema NDC for no. Nkaje adada ena kotompo na ewi kronu every NDC abrama ebedu samre no nka sa region nyina no nka develop with mesre pass ona wo kan Japan eba no o say oba be bi adwuma e dia masa areas nyina wo free south no obetimi akọ north akọ pa adwuma aye emra bi na ye mari omukọ ba lebe owo kakọ leba no no ona wo kan Japan mi am 600 kasa o kan and no fan of free at the bar. And then, on a Juma and on the Shabush upon the United Mestra delegates, Obia Tuaba and Famaka, but now can suffer Omubie, no Mudama, no Bian Sobia, Casa Crono, Central Regional, and your Biada, Nadia.
That's it. Opening your frozen.
You're from Yawamati, Messumificaswa,
Uficaswa, and then I'll be a showdown. Then
Kakame can say, delegate Momusuro, Nayadiana Ebano. Nia wakuama ya ateno anona edu no so no ene nti no 4th November yeto abanamano na enioma enye wo ye party ni mu no oma sesa no mo bia nsuro bia because say MPB ayi nanim say otoama vice president a ebane say the delegate mesumi to me nyim say me ama na woken ensuro bronco na so no dokononko because onabo adwuma waye no MP mu no waye no MPP mu no obie ni ho a MPB anyone watching I said you mano say yeah MP be say 6 e can honorable ho a no mo ye adwuma no grassroots and can ye ndani enti e ne bra wo say grassroots yes you share animyam na amama enioma e ko MPP mu no si ato abawie a no ma dampo grassroots and say delegate no bibia ya den entwato e ma say
so e da wa say we so another youth who did say
me didn't control ba me kasa fi go mo ojobi
dentina wa
me wa for honorable Kennedy ohene Agyapong incoming president of Ghana do me who say ani sade hu won so obetimi abo oman no say do man na kwa acho no ye dane ye chima na anye ye nje wogide won mu ntine ye ba say be support no ye da was
all the youth are talking. We didn't say now can the friend in front of you buy.
Yeah, very business from Port from Sigam if you go more Jobi, go more East constituency.
I didn't know what
because king say ya ba what as so person munku yo be so bia didi what as king yo ibe bia any na nto a ebobo man Ghana because us Ghana first until now we king or hini Agyapong number 1.
All right. Number 1 on the ballot. This is the final and the biggest showdown walk in the Central Regional Capital. You can see from the background where Echel said the home region of Honorable Ken Agyapong and our friend say Ufrina by.
Medele ke beto for su if you go afuruji. Ba right na dey no Chifu Prez.
All right. Okay. Chifu Prez boko.
Ozo.
How boko Chifu Prez boko.
Oh boko.
E dey tina waba.
Ya ba credit. Enti ayerim Chifu Prez. Ye nya ba twi. Ya ba say support ma paro. If anybody who wants to utie no kra ye. Ba paro ka no kra. Ni sabo kan ya hai no kra sabo kwa. Ye ni say go twi mana. No kra bia ade bia yin sa Ghana. Ai no kra bia fa me ye bia ma ye nya ati. Eri ti ma ye nya support no. Ye ya no kra Ghana. Ye nya puchu. Ba paro we ri numa. Since 1992. Ye nya president of ye obie. Come on about 3. Kra Ghana. That's why boy onye president. Now so go bia enuma. Bebre o Ghana.
Me da say we mebunu kasa osudi ni say.
Me dey bram tete.
Ufrina by. Chifu Prez. Okay, then now so hane.
Oh, kede ntina me wa mo.
Okay.
Central region ya bre.
Then tina obre.
Oh, Central region nya bi pe bi aba mi aba so a. E kan company atamre saba. Central region nya hwe. Nta fi ye ya diem na ba. E ya MPP ni ye de na ba Kennedy ba. Me ya youth organizer. I want to for Senegal. Nti na me wa say ba show down work. Na be yikere di atre. Ya be yikere di atre. Ya be yikere di atre na Central region. Na one delegate in to Abama no tell about 2024 ba be kono. I simple am because my mama fra o sure Kennedy. Nti e be say Kennedy ko na go face my mama tell about kurum be MPP dia.
Okay, Abujafo. Aha. Ya Kotokraba market ya drug Kotokraba in the Central region. Up and you didn't say.
Papa J. Assist Central constituency.
Assist Central. The constituency of the presidential candidate, Honorable Ken Agyapong. Open it now, but Canada.
About to I got you. Me, the main person, Jana Yashan say, Ghana, you have a queen. Not near Yashan and Sabaka as on mine, as grassroots. One who Obia or Casamount. What I say, you're too a baby. That's a grassroots politician. Opposite a band a baby mount. When you be no one Casama, that's a no answer what to a baby and our to her. About our two and none to be any. She said, Honorable Ken, I didn't for the past 20 years, 23 years, Abasuki. Shanyamala Wayama grassroots. Let there, Yenim, Honorable Ken, near Otumi Aye. Inti, Debia, Yenu grassroots Asia, I can't say, Yadian Abano. Yashane and two Abano, Afamano, Ama, Mukodi, Sansame, Ewo, Lebanon, Anna, your friends are Middle East, Honorable Ken, Etu in the bottoms, in the bottoms, Educa, Plain, Emma, or Mobile. So, what is a military hospital? Nipabaku, Etumi, Eddie, Sika, and yes, I get to a cardiothoracic center, Edama, Soldier for any Ghana for Nipa, what to say? Or see, and Tama, so say, yes, so young kind Yama, why am I? Wow, everyone as a chess, Honorable Ken, or some of your book. Bayan Ken, not Ochina or Dahono, your baby now, as to say, and now Honorable Ken, or you say, grassroots delegate, your best, some wine, not Gina Yashano, Ambra, Mas.
All right, Mammy, all right, Mammy.
So I can't never will show you got one ADC, you do my PP, the car so I don't tell them. Everything I could play, everything I could play, Gasa, you will show you Gasa, everything Gasa, let's say the delegate for what I do, you are Christmas, everything Gasa.
All right, so this is Kotokraba Market, and I will. The final and biggest showdown walk in the capital of Central Region, Capecoast to be precise, and I have live coverage. We are live on Oman FM, Net2 TV across the country, and at the final showdown. And about Mame, who did you say?
I tell for man.
Now, Eddie go higher.
Me go Kotokraba Market.
Eddie go Kotokraba Market. About the internet, you answer me.
Abe! Say!
Can Japan say?
Ah! Mempetani.
So, Osha, any day no I am so Cassia. And okay, then I was all catch up.
Babaro. Ah, was all Baro. There's a Ghana. Mamma Suro. Baumio. Yes, you're in an abayo, and out of everybody. The Outer Robin for you. You have a power. You hear of Ghana. The Crepa or Ghana. There's no bios about it. I'm not going to forget. For what? No, I can't do it. You have a power. I'm never going to say. All right.
Okay. And what's it? Fear. Care for what? Oh, Casapro. My men and appear mensa. Nana appear penny. Any Elcomo. Nana Fatama Daruma. Any Jemuso. Nana Tampa Screen Suko. Nana de Yansakanwa. Nana. Den one who showed down work. Yanuko Kumase. And Miami Abbey and Noako. Wadaruma den one who at the home region of Honorable Ken Japan.
Madam Asi. Efe. Na Nyankopon aye. Mempaya and say. Nyame ma ye ni mu ngase o me ni mu ngase ne no me ni mu ngase on the 4th okay because Nyankopon akasa say be pue dia ye hu no ha afa dodo wo de hwe nipa ebuna na me nyini say ye benya ne say but me de me bompaye esere nyame say on hye ni gini ho animonyam no on hye ken animonyam ade a wayama central region and Ghana na and adru no so enim say obstacles bebre ohode then so saa na tie ebeba eno na ebeba me hu Nyankopon animonyam
na ebeda wasipa say wata unu achi abedu sam pempen so yi aka ene kuma bi final message to the delegate at the sedebe na demo
me message ni say simple mo ankasa delegate say mo beka ya yakoto aba wo Legon ena na nipa 9 around 900 ne to ye omoto say nipa no to ye nti no ama ni win no na nkofo ade na ye nipa bebre ne ye wo party mu na yakoto aba nipa kakra bi ena e dia on be expand electoral college no ena omo expand ye no so ye san koto aba e on 26 August ye ko ye nso ye hu ni a ye chairman for ne ne makoye ye because say na nipa ni so ye nyina ye di ya delegate for no anti eba to prove to them like the electoral colleges are 208,000 yes say almost see no say almost the empower na my say mu electoral college no 208 no mun decide the obey say yanto ama and Nyankopon so ache ade say emre a ba say yade 208,000 e beto aba no Nyankopon so ayi obi a oye grassroots person wa kwama grassroots for ti say ne say man to amaka ye flag bearer ochina mo be da complain bio because yade to mi na shawunsa na manyu su ni ye intermediate meji delegates ni di say omo beto aba ma ono aboke ni Japan
nana piapani na yene na di komo we mamene opani su ni komo obani udi dey say
you are from Francis Amache mo Capecoast South
say mo your opposition because muni MP
yes inyi MP
fantastic na dey ntina wa
oh boa because of Kennedy ohini Agyapong akomprekon ebi wa boa post not wa boa en de Kennedy ohini Agyapong Mr. Delegate to Capecoast South, Delegate to Capecoast North, Delegate to Central Region, Delegate to Ghana, the Mamunzi and Shambo, Indian Ghana for I are told there, Woman Kennedy over 57% of the total votes. It's yes, someone Mamunzi and Shambo, 4th November, 1-2 boom, McKennedy don't win hands down. Na you show down Umbra do many Jimbra Ghana.
Okay, I was for way the live coverage, the final and biggest showdown walk was Central Regional Capital, Capecoast, and Yananti Free Capecoast Stadium Junction. Our Abra, this is I'm not going to say,
You don't need.
To please sing the national anthem of South Africa. This will be rendered by the Soweto Gospel Choir. I have to tell you that I tried to audition and they rejected me. And I'm still trying to sing for the Soweto Gospel Choir. So I'll still try, Prof. There they come. Thank you very much. Soweto Gospel Choir. They will be back again later when they will be singing together with Kirk Wallam and Tandiswa Mazwai. So there will be a music tribute at the end. Now, I'd like you to please help me welcome someone actually who was so brave when she's surrounded by these men and they were trying to get hold of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and she said, I will do it. And we are collaborating with them at the moment. And this young lady, she will be our program director for the day. Please help me welcome Busi Mkumbuzi.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, President Barack Obama, Mrs. Graça Machel, Professor Njabulo Ndebele, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, and Mr. Sello Hatang. Your Excellencies, heads of states and government, past and present, honorable ministers, members of parliament, provincial premiers, mayors, and all members of government, leaders of opposition parties, veterans of the liberation struggle, former Nelson Mandela lecture speakers, business leaders, and leaders of faith-based organizations, political and social activists, members of the Mandela family, distinguished guests, fellow South Africans, and the world. It is an honor to stand before you today to celebrate the centenary of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Whom former President Barack Obama describes as more than a man, but as being a symbol of the struggle for justice, equality, and dignity in South Africa and all across the globe. In 1994, the year of my birth, Madiba emerged as president of a democratic South Africa. From the onset, he was committed to turning a country torn apart by years of colonialism and apartheid into a fully functioning democracy where all South Africans are equal before the law. And yet, despite our notable progress, the situation right now in the world calls on us to reflect deeply. Global political trends portray a concerted assault against the democratic values that Mandela and his contemporaries espoused. All over the world, there is a resurgence of racial and class exclusivity, of nationalism, and the maintenance of gross inequality through corruption and systematic greed. Patriarchy persists at the peril of women and the LGBT community. We did not think that so far into democracy, so many people would again face the threats of losing their elemental rights, their freedom, and their dignity. This is therefore an auspicious occasion, ladies and gentlemen, to reflect on the principles and values that defined Mandela's life and legacy. Principles such as tolerance, inclusivity, reconciliation, and the rule of law. These principles underpin Madiba's legacy and can heal the world of its social ills. These principles also broke the political deadlock in the 90s, and I truly believe that they need to be invigorated in 2018. Standing before you as a young black woman born and bred in the sprawling working class townships of Soweto, this occasion must especially motivate the youth. It must motivate them to take the forefront in the endless struggle to sustain livelihoods globally. During this centennial celebration of Madiba's birth, I encourage all dignitaries, institutions of government, business, and all fervent supporters of Mandela's legacy to put their weight behind the youth, who I believe are the true custodians of our future. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, to mark the opening of this special occasion, it is a great privilege to welcome the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. He is an established scholar who has been a key figure in South African higher education, an author whose critical and creative writing have tackled the effects of apartheid on black communities, protest, democracy, and reconciliation. Please give a resounding applause to Professor Njabulo Ndebele.
President Ramaphosa, President Obama, Mama Machel, Dr. Prez, and so many distinguished guests who out there who have graced our occasion with your presence. And ladies and gentlemen, all of you from far and near. On behalf of the trustees of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, I welcome you to the 16th Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture. Thank you for joining us in your numbers to remember Madiba on the eve of what would have been his 100th birthday, and for doing so by coming to listen to a lecture by an extraordinary leader, President Barack Obama. This is the biggest Nelson Mandela lecture we have ever hosted, something eminently appropriate, I think, for the centenary. Our late trustee, the Venerable Ahmed Kathrada, never stopped demanding that we should hold the lecture in a stadium. Today, he has finally got his wish. "28 years ago, with one hand clasped around the hand of Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, the other raised in a fist, Nelson Mandela walked out of Victor Verster prison into a country waiting for his leadership. Would he, outside prison at last, continue to inspire as much as he had done when he was inside? In a racially polarized society where political friends and enemies were frighteningly easy to identify by skin color, few South Africans were aware just how Mandela's release represented a unique and unexpected ways the complex art of the possible. It required that he take enormous personal risks to lay foundations for a negotiated end to over 3 centuries of racist, economic, and social oppression in South Africa. he had to find a way of cutting across embedded histories, structures of governing, and the human attitudes they had given life to over time. He had to find a way for South Africans to begin to see one another differently. It was a task that required a particular kind of leader. Now, for this particular leader, there are countless anecdotes that individually capture some essence of him. The anecdotes collected recently and published in one of our centenary publications, which bears the title, I Remember Nelson Mandela, makes for a most joyous read that I recommend. These anecdotes are told by many from various stations of life who worked for Madiba or for his organizations. But today I want to recall a personal all-time favorite anecdote of mine. It is not in that book. Richard Stengel, who collaborated with Nelson Mandela on his autobiography, The Long Walk to Freedom, tells that particular one. And here it goes. We were once on this airplane flight down in Natal, and it was a prop plane. I think there were 6 seats in it, and there were maybe 4 of us in the plane. As soon as he gets in an airplane, he, Madiba, picks up a newspaper. He adores newspapers. For many years, he didn't have them and revels in the touch of them. And he reads every stupid story. And so we were sitting in this plane. The plane was up and he was reading his newspaper. And we were about, I don't know, halfway there. And I saw, to my great horror, that the propeller had stopped going round. And he said very, very calmly, Richard, you might want to inform the pilot that the propeller isn't working. I said, yes, Madiba. I walked to the front of the plane, and the pilot was, of course, well aware of it and said, go back and sit down. We've called the airport. They have the ambulances out there, and they are going to coat the runway with foam or whatever they do. So I went back and told that to Madiba, and he just, in that very solemn way of his, mouth sort of down, listened and said, yes. And then picked up his newspaper and started reading. I was terrified, and I calmed myself by looking at him, and he was as calm as could be, like the prisoners on Robben Island that must have looked at him when they felt scared. He just looked as calm as could be. Well, the plane landed safely while Madiba retained his calm and flustered expression all the way as we stopped off the plane. But when they entered the airport, Madiba took advantage of a quiet moment with Stengel to make an unexpected confession. Man, he said, I was scared up there. So Madiba was able to put up the armor of self-composure to mask the turmoil and fear and uncertainty that was churning inside of him. The best part is by far in his honesty, to give words to his fears at the appropriate moment. There's a certain grandeur to it. This story displays something else about Madiba. It shows up Madiba, the politician, surprisingly, Madiba, the actor. He could enter the universe of all those he met, each and every one of them, at home and everywhere in the world, and be remembered universally for the genuineness of that particular moment. The actor in him was able to remove from the politician any semblance of guile, at the same time that the politician gave to the actor the semblance of power to effect change. In him, we could see an intriguing coexistence of power and beauty. It is a coexistence of attributes that he bequeathed to us in the hope that 24 years after the birth of our constitutional democracy, we would be more powerful and even more beautiful. Through Madiba the actor, displayed in this anecdote, I want to pay tribute, therefore, to all actors, artists, writers, dancers, musicians, who in their different art forms are able to feel intensely the characters they become, the thoughts they think, the feelings and emotions they feel deeply. They make real the experience of being truly alive. And being truly alive is what all South Africans today have to become once more, through an act of will and the courage to be clear-minded and steadfast in moments that require them to be courageous. There are many South Africans today in government, in their political parties, in offices of traditional authority, in their trade unions, in their churches, in their schools, and in their governing councils, and in their sports associations. They all play important leadership roles, but some will, by willful intent, have caused the propeller of the airplane of state to stop going round in midair, and who will go on to read a newspaper, see themselves in it, and pretend to be completely innocent. Some will even call a press conference and then say nothing at it. These are the characters that actors get to play as the bad guy. We saw in our Madiba anecdote the ability in a leader to suppress inner fears in order to be brave for other people. That way, people sharing a genuinely dangerous and precarious moment with a leader draw courage from a leader in the appearance of courage displayed by him. He then owns up to that moment later by revealing the fear he experienced after the fact. That way, he enables us to participate in the personal yet public dimensions of being human. I call on all those among our leaders who wear the faces of innocence to stop being the bad guy, step out of the airplane of those whose propeller they had willfully stopped, and after a safe landing, emerge from that plane and say, "Man, I have been corrupt." I am certain that Madiba would have approved as you do. Let us remember those 4 years of difficult negotiations in which, despite some significant loss of life, South Africans did not slide into a bloodbath of a racial war. Madiba's compass remained steadfast and trusted. With the birth of a new democracy achieved, Madiba, as president of the new Republic of South Africa, spent 5 years building constitutional, legislative, political, economic, and social coherence to support and promote a new democracy. Let us remember that the South African Constitution and the society envisaged by it placed participative humanity and belonging at its core. Such would be the country that Madiba dreamed of. His dreams were shared at the time by all political parties, trade unions, business institutions, civil society organizations, communities, and families throughout the land that all agreed to work together in a constitutional democracy to achieve these dreams. No one ever before, none ever before, had been head of state of South Africa for all the people of South Africa. Tirelessly, he worked to ensure that our democracy would become more strong. Indeed, it was strong enough to survive the predations and devastations of the last 10 years. Too many South Africans in that time have been left behind. Too many have become deeply alienated. Too many believe they have nothing to lose. The new governing party administration has provided strong evidence of a determination to clean up and fix broken institutions and restore the best hopes of a nation. But the demand from those left behind is for a fundamental transformation of our society.